When I first started playing Satisfactory, I reached Tier 3 feeling overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of crafting new items. Trying to build a modular frame factory was a nightmare. My napkin wasn't big enough to figure out what machines I needed. Fortunately, there are online tools to help plan even the most massive factories. My go-to is satisfactorycalculator.com. Using the production planner relieves you of a ton of calculation work. Start by selecting the items you want to produce. Then type the quantity per minute, and the production planner will dynamically adapt to your needs. If you want to refine the plan, click Options and change the view mode from simple to realistic. There you can choose the miner, extractor, or belt and pipeline you've unlocked. It then generates a complete list of buildings and resources, so you know exactly what you need before you start building. Skip the headaches and jump straight to an efficient production. I consider Tier 3 to be the start of the mid-game in Satisfactory, where you unlock steel, pipes, water extractors, and more complex builds. But to power all this, you need a reliable power source. So let's build a simple coal power plant. Find a location with either a pure node or 2 normal coal nodes near a body of water. These will produce a 120 coal per minute with Mark I miners. Since coal generators use 15 coal per minute, build 8 generators to match the output. Each generator also requires 45 cubic meters of water per minute, so you'll need 3 water extractors. However, there's a catch. Mark I pipes are limited to 300 per minute, so the water needs to be connected in a loop to ensure it flows evenly through the system. This setup will give you 600 megawatts of power and can easily be expanded to meet your factory's growing needs. One of the most exciting additions in 1.0 is giving the summer sloop not 1, but 2 uses in the game. While the Alien Power Augmenter is an endgame unlock, you can get a huge boost early on by unlocking the production amplifier in the MAM as soon as possible. The production amplifier works like overclocking, but instead of increasing the speed of machines, it duplicates their output. Smelters and constructors require just 1 summer sloop, while larger machines need 2 or 4. Of course, there's a catch. A fully amplified machine uses 4 times the power. If you combine the amplifier with overclocking, you'll burn 13 times the power. One of the best early game uses of the summer sloop is duplicating alien DNA capsules for early fix-it coupons, doubling power shards for overclocking, or duplicating space elevator parts to speed up production. I've started showcasing amazing builds from my Discord members on Livestream. From functional but simple bases to incredible designs, it's all about using the right techniques. And here are 3 tips to level up your builds. Tip 1. Having trouble placing an item exactly where you want? Lock the hologram with H. Then use the arrow keys for fine adjustments. For even more precision, hold Control for micro movements. Tip 2. Use signs to customize lighting. Set a blank icon and remove the text. Then color the sign to create a glow to highlight, underlight, or backlight elements in your factory. Tip 3. Unlock structural beams in the Awesome Shop. Use painted and metal beams to fill gaps, texture walls, and create sturdy-looking supports. The magic happens when you combine them with the beam connector. Rotate it for complex angles and build unique structures. Mix beams, connectors, and lighting for unlimited creative effects. When you hit Tier 2, you unlock the modular frame. This item is part of the most complex chain of items in the game, ending with over 100 machines just to make 1 pressure conversion cube. It's important to get it right from the start, so let's build a simple modular frame factory. Start with 120 ingots per second. Now make a series of manifolds according to the following chart. The ingots feed the iron plates and rod manifolds. The rods feed the screws and modular frame manifolds, and the reinforced iron plates need plates and screws. Underclock the final machine in each manifold to keep them running all the time. Or, as an alternative, you can make fewer machines and overclock them instead. When you unlock higher tiers of conveyor, you can add machines to each manifold to increase the total output. As your factory grows, you'll need to transport resources over a longer distance. So what's the best solution? The first option is conveyors, which you need to upgrade every few tiers to move more resources. They're simple and reliable, but can become an eyesore when stretched across the map. Once you unlock the truck station at Tier 3, you have the option to haul 25 stacks at a time. Tractors carry more than conveyors, but can be buggy. And the delivery comes in large bursts, creating feast or famine supply issues. At Tier 6, you unlock trains. They're faster, carry more than trucks, and are more reliable. However, they're bulky and also suffer from feast or famine delivery. Finally, drones arrive at Tier 8. They're compact, stable, go over any terrain, but are limited to only 9 stacks. Each method has its strengths. Pick the one that best suits your factory. In Tier 3, water is essential for powering coal generators. But transporting liquids isn't as simple as using conveyors. You'll need pipes, and here's what you need to know. Liquids are affected by 2 key factors, gravity and pressure. Gravity pulls liquids down, completely filling any lower section of pipe before moving upward. To push liquids vertically, there must be enough pressure. This pressure is measured as head lift, the maximum vertical distance a liquid can travel. Machines provide 10 meters of head lift from their output ports, meaning liquid can travel up to 10 meters vertically. For more lift, use pipeline pumps. Mark 1 pumps add 20 meters, and Mark 2 pumps add 50 meters. When placing a pump, watch the blue ring on the pipe, which indicates the head lift level. Remember, partially filled pipes have 0 head lift due to gravity. For solutions on flow issues, check out my short on water towers. Trains are easily my favorite transportation method in Satisfactory, but setting up a 2-way train station instead of a loop is tricky. Here's how to do it. Build a standard train stop but with a train station on the end facing away from the train line. I named this stop A. For the train stop in the middle, you need a train station facing the direction the train is heading with a platform attached. Let's call this one B. At the other end, set up a train stop to mirror the first, naming it C. Now build your train with locomotives at both ends and a freight car in the middle. In the timetable, add the stations in order, A, B, C. Now your train will haul end to end until the end of time. I always struggled with keeping my factory well lit and visually appealing and satisfactory, until my son Garrett showed me how to customize the lighting. First, he created a blueprint for a grid of ceiling lights. Since each light can connect to 2 power sources, you can daisy chain them, avoiding the mess of power poles across your building. He then connected them to a light control panel before linking everything to the main power. The light control panel lets you adjust the light color and intensity, so you can avoid blinding yourself while keeping your factory well lit. For our street lights, he enabled night mode, making them automatically turn on after dark. For outdoor lighting, wall-mounted floodlights are perfect. Mount them on a tilted fix-it wall to easily adjust the angle, ensuring that you have the perfect coverage for your building's exterior. In Satisfactory, Tier 7 is a huge leap forward in complexity, especially when making aluminum ingots. Here's how to do it easily. To make aluminum, you need bauxite, quartz, and coal. Use 2 pure bauxite mines, 1 pure quartz mine, and 1 pure coal mine. Start by setting up 4 refineries to process the bauxite. They will need water from 4 extractors. This will produce alumina solution and silica. Build 2 additional refineries and feed them the coal and alumina solution. This will produce aluminum scrap and water. Loop the water back into the water line. Now let's bring in all that quartz. Build a manifold of 11 constructors to make silica. Now the magic happens. Combine the silica and the aluminum scrap in a manifold of 8 foundries, and they will produce 480 aluminum ingots per minute. The first time I built a train line in Satisfactory, I was blown away by how cool it looked. But I had a problem. Items kept mixing up in the trains, creating chaos in my mall. The quickest fix was to use smart or programmable splitters to sort items quickly and keep things organized. However, this only patched the problem. When loading trains, products are loaded directly into specific train cars. So if you have multiple stations, you may need to skip cars to keep items sorted. Use empty platforms to line up each input or output with the correct car. If items are still getting mixed up, it could be due to using an end loop that turns the train around, swapping the car positions. To do it right, check out my short on two-way trains. In Satisfactory, Tier 5 is a key moment to scale up your power when you unlock oil. Fuel generators provide 250 megawatts of power, a huge leap forward. So let's build a simple fuel power plant. This is a great build to go in the Blue Crater, the Western Beaches, or the Spire Coast. Start with 2 oil extractors on 2 pure nodes. Connect the oil to 10 refineries, which you will create fuel and polymer resin. Feed the fuel to 20 fuel-powered generators to create 5 gigawatts of power. To handle the byproducts, set up 5 refineries to turn the polymer resin into residual plastic with a water extractor. Finally, add a power storage system and switch it off once fully charged to have a reserve of power in case of an outage. Drones are the easiest transportation method in Satisfactory. They don't need tracks, conveyors, or roads. Place a drone port at both ends and forget it. But their tiny 9-slot inventory disqualifies them from being an integral part of the supply chain for any high-volume item. Or does it? Let's see if we can meet the speed of a single Mark V conveyor. That's 780 items per minute. After nearly a minute-long load and unload time, that means if you have a stack size of 100 and have a maximum 2 drones per route, you're left with a paltry 10-second flight time. With a stack of 500, however, you can get 4.5 minutes of flight without slowing your factory down. How far is that? With packaged ionized fuel, over 7 kilometers, or across the entire map. Gases are a new challenge you'll encounter in Tier 8 of Satisfactory. They behave like liquids, but are easier to manage. Like liquids, gases are transported using pipes. However, gases are not affected by gravity, so you don't need pumps to manage head lift. Once connected, gases flow freely no matter the height or distance. There are 5 gases in the game, divided into 3 categories. Nitrogen gas is used for crafting advanced items like turbo motors and cooling systems. Rocket fuel and ionized fuel are powerful late-game energy sources for vehicles and machines. And then there's excited photonic matter and dark matter residue, which are not technically gases but are handled like them. These are key ingredients in advanced recipes. Efficient gas management will unlock advanced technologies and scale your production efficiently. Fluid issues in Satisfactory can be frustrating. Here are 4 quick solutions to help your next build. Multiple buffers in sequence can reduce throughput as the game balances fluid levels. Place buffers in parallel to maintain smooth flow. To ensure one pipe section is full before feeding the next, add a reverse U-shaped bend. Gravity forces liquids to completely fill the first section before moving on to the second. Buffers have head lift proportional to how full they are. If a buffer is half empty, it only provides half the head lift, potentially disrupting your system. Valves are great for controlling flow, but depend on a full input pipe. If the input pipe isn't full, the output will be even lower than the set limit. What other tips do you have for improving fluid management in Satisfactory? Once you're familiar with the basics of Satisfactory, it's time to decide: modular factory or mega factory. A modular factory is purpose-built for one item. Early on, you might build a smart plating factory that balances inputs for perfect efficiency. Modular designs can be replicated for scaling, like my turbo fuel plant, which I built 4 times to boost output. A mega factory, by contrast, handles multiple inputs and outputs, often linked to a mall or dimensional depot loader. These sprawling buildings grow with your progress and need regular upgrades. My own mega factory integrates nearly every single item in the game. Whether you choose modular efficiency or mega scale integration, The right factory design depends on your goals and playstyle. I thought nobelisks were just for blowing up rocks, until my son launched me and my truck into orbit. Let's look at all the ways they can be useful in Satisfactory. First, we have the standard, cluster, and nuke nobelisks. These are perfect for clearing terrain and taking out creatures. Use standard or cluster nobelisks to remove boulders from resource nodes or deal with hogs and spitters. The cluster nobelisks' widespread blasts make it great for groups, while the nuke nobelisks take destruction to a whole new level. Just don't stand too close unless you enjoy respawning. Next, the gas nobelisks. They're mostly useless. But hey, if you've found a good use for it, let me know in the comments. Finally, there's the pulse nobelisk. Unlike the others, it doesn't deal damage. It pushes objects and creatures instead. It's perfect for launching vehicles into the air or creating chaos by hurling creatures off cliffs. Performing stunts on vehicles with explosives? That's the kind of chaos Satisfactory is. Long ago, I ditched the in-game map for sites like satisfactorycalculator.com to take a close look at my factory. But the map has a few hidden features that I didn't know about that brought me back in-game. First, if you scan for a resource, it will temporarily show up on your map. To make these easier to find, you can use a stamp and highlight it on the map. They'll show up as beams of light in the world, making it impossible to miss. Next, radar towers are incredibly useful for exploration. They uncover new sections of the map, reveal resource nodes in the area, and even show the quantity of collectibles nearby, such as hard drives and power slugs. The map also gives you full control over what you see. Use the hide/show options to toggle markers like stamps, death crates, vehicles, and more. This keeps your map and compass organized and clutter-free, showing you only what's important for your current task. But maybe the map could use some more features like showing your factory? What do you think? Alternate recipes, or alt recipes, are unlocked in the MAM and can transform your factory. But not all of them are beneficial. So how do you decide which ones to pick? Resource availability is one consideration. Your choices can limit certain resources. For example, fuel-based generators might leave you short of oil for plastic. In this case, the silicon circuit board alt recipe, which uses silica, reduces your need for plastic. Recipe complexity matters too. Some alt recipes simplify production by removing tricky inputs. The classic battery alt recipe, for example, eliminates the need for liquids, making it perfect for megafactories with centralized dry resource lines. Finally, avoiding conveyor clogs. Recipes that rely heavily on items like screws can overwhelm your logistics. Switching to alternatives like the cast screw or skipping screws entirely can make your factory far more efficient. Want to know more on screws? Check out that short too. When I finally unlocked the hover pack in my current playthrough, it was such a relief that I almost forgot the pain of navigating my factory and the world without it. But until you get there, here are some creative ways to reach hard-to-access nodes, collect Mercer spheres, and explore the map. This first technique relies on the parachute, which I completely overlooked in my first playthrough. But parachutes don't just slow your descent, they can also launch you. Try a parachute railgun, a bug-turned feature. When falling near an inclined surface, the parachute rises. But using painted beams to guide your fall, you can catapult yourself into the air and travel incredible distances. For quicker movement, try the pulse nobelisk. Pair it with the jetpack, which retains momentum no matter which direction you're launched, and you'll be soaring across the map in no time. And, of course, we can't forget the classic hypertube cannon. It is well known, but it's still one of the fastest and most satisfying ways to get around. These methods might not replace the hoverpack, but they'll make the journey to unlocking it a lot more fun. I've been using manifolds in my factories since shortly after I started playing Satisfactory. Now, almost everything I build incorporates a manifold because they're easy to expand and maintain. So let's break down how to plan and build the perfect manifold. We'll use a manufacturer making supercomputers as an example. A manifold size is limited by the speed of the conveyor belts bringing items in or taking them out. For supercomputers, the required ingredients are computers, AI limiters, high-speed connectors, and plastic. Among these, plastic is the highest demand at 52.5 units per minute. The design of your manifold depends on the input to output ratio. When fewer items are produced than consumed, like in this case, place inputs on the outside and the outputs going down the center. For recipes like wire, where more items are produced than consumed, reverse the design and put the outputs on the outside and the inputs down the center. For balanced ratios such as alclad aluminum sheets, a single-sided manifold might work the best. Using a Mark V conveyor, we can divide 780 items per minute by the 52.5 plastic per minute needed, giving us 14.8 machines. For a two-sided manifold, we can overclock a few machines to bring the number of machines down to 14, with 7 on each side. Finally, decide where the outputs go. In my Mega-Factory, I route finished goods to the opposite side of the inputs, forming a loop that feeds my mall below. But you can also route them back to the same side for simpler setups. To build the manifold, place 7 manufacturers per side with the inputs facing outward. Use stacked conveyors with lifts to keep everything neat. Most of my builds are done manually, but I've created blueprints for each machine, which you can download on my Discord. The Alien Power Augmenter is a powerful amplifier building, meaning that besides the power it generates on its own, it adds 10% of your current power grid production. So if your power grid currently generates 60,000 megawatts, adding a power augmenter will add 500 megawatts on its own, plus 6,050 megawatts to give you a total of 66,550 megawatts of total power. This extra power comes at a price, though. They each cost 10 summer sloops to build, which need to be hunted and are a limited in-game resource. Later in the game, you can add 5 alien power matrices per minute to the augmenters to increase the boost to 30%, but you'll need to overcome the 12,000 megawatts of power needed just to produce the power matrices to make this viable. That would mean that your base power would need to be at least 60,000 megawatts for the extra boost to equal the cost of producing the power matrices alone, which likely pushes the viability of this option until you have nuclear power up and running. When I started my latest save in Satisfactory, I was trying to find quartz, but no matter how many times I scanned, I couldn't find it. Well, SatisfactoryCalculator.com helped me find it with their interactive map. It does everything the in-game map can do, and a little bit more. Here are 3 things that I use almost daily. First is the cave overlay. When I was searching for quartz, I turned on the cave overlay and immediately saw my problem. The quartz vein was far underground, and the entrance was over a kilometer away. Second, you can upload your save to see what you've built on the map. It's really neat to see everything laid out so you can plan your future expansion. My 55 gigawatt power plant looks really cool from an overhead view. Last, you can show or hide any item on the map. Seeing how many slugs, Mercer spheres, and summer sloops are left out there proves to me that I've got a lot to collect. One of the best ways to monitor your factory's performance in Satisfactory is by watching the indicator lights on your buildings. A sea of green means everything is running smoothly, but understanding the colors helps you to troubleshoot and optimize. Red is the worst. It means the machine has lost power, either is not connected to the grid or the grid is out of power, or you haven't selected a recipe. Generators also go red when they run out of fuel. Yellow signals a problem. The machine has power and a recipe but isn't running. Likely because it's out of resources or the output line is full. Some machines show yellow in specific cases, like pumps with improper connections, hypertube entrances without tubes, or truck stations without trucks. Green is ideal. Everything is working perfectly. Finally, there's the white-blue light, indicating the machine has a power shard installed, even if it isn't overclocked. By keeping an eye on these lights, you can troubleshoot and fine-tune your factory for maximum efficiency, the way Fix-It intended. The sound of your power going out in Satisfactory is one of the most painful experiences. So, how do you prevent those dreaded blackouts, or at least get a good warning before they hit? Power storage acts as our safety net. Each unit stores 100 megawatt hours of power, enough to keep 25 constructors running for an hour or 2 manufacturers for about 50 minutes. It's also great for smoothing out power production and usage. Geothermal energy produces fluctuating power, while the quantum encoder, particle accelerator, and converter consume it at variable rates. So how much backup power is enough? Some players aim to store an hour's worth of power for their entire factory, but late game setups make this pretty impractical. Running 60 gigawatts would take 600 power storage units. There's a better strategy. Use priority power switches to rank your power usage. Put critical systems like generators, power storage, and your transportation network on top priority. Set lower priority factories to shut down first when power runs low. That way, when the dreaded alert comes, you can disable non-essential factories and focus on upgrading your power. With smart planning, you can keep your factory running even under pressure.